And so then we also know we're going to make mistakes, and we know we're going to do things that are not the smartest thing we could have done. But do we learn from those mistakes? Do we ask ourselves the question constantly, what can I learn from this? And by the way, we don't always come up with the answer right away. Sometimes we never come up with the answer. But it's asking the question that keeps us focused on where we want to be and where we need to be.
Yo, 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 this is the Streetwise podcast, where we help you level up your game, level up your leadership, and level up your life. I'm your host, Matthew McReynolds. I'm a multi-brand franchisee, and I'm a franchise consultant, which means I help people find, launch, and build their ideal franchise business. My main goal is to help you get off of zero and become the person that your dreams need you to be. Buckle up, get your popcorn ready, let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, today we've got a very, very special guest, the author, co-author of one of my favorite books of all time, Mr. Bob Burg, author of The Go-Giver. Mr. Bob, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Matthew. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm super
Great to be with
excited.
you. Well,
Yeah,
my
I'm
pleasure.
super
I'm excited as
about
well.
it. Yeah. So tell the people a little bit about yourself in what it is that you do now. I mean, I know you've written all these great books, but what does your day-to-day look like now in leading your life in this chapter?
Well, day to day, I'm older now. I'm 66. I'm not retired, but I'm not on the road anymore speaking. So I only speak at conferences that are held in Florida where I can
Okay.
drive because I live in South Florida, and myself along with two of my great friends and colleagues, Jeff West and Kim Angeli, we hold a quarterly event called Saleswise Live, uh, and that is held in West Palm Beach. And so, it's a lot of fun. I still create content, and I do keynotes over the computer. What do they call it? Virtual keynotes. But
Okay.
that's about my day at this point.
Cool. So Streetwise to Saleswise, Jeff West, you guys co-authored that book, and
Right.
that was one that I posted about that initially got us connected. And John David Mann, you co-authored The Go-Giver
Okay.
with.
Uh-huh.
Something that I'm curious about is whenever you're writing these books and you're collaborating with other authors, how do you do it? How do you know which person takes the lead? Who does what? What's your process like?
Well, I think it depends on the team. If both
Okay.
people are storytellers as well as how-to authors, well, now you've got to really decide those things and who does what the expectations are, and so forth. In this case, with me, these were all very easy because John David Mann was the lead writer and storyteller
Okay.
of the Go-Giver series. He's also a great entrepreneur, and so. And then with Jeff was the lead writer of Streetwise to Saleswise, and again, he's a great entrepreneur and sales professional. So really, my part is more the content element as well as going through everything as we're going along, and and making my contribution that way. But there's no question in terms of who the real writers are, and it is not I.
Well, you're very humble, and I appreciate that. One of the things that I love the most about the entire Go Giver series was how everything tied in. I loved it. So you have this business fable that has such strong elements and virtues that are built into the book, but then each book seemed to build off of
Mhm.
the last. How did you guys curate all of those things? Was it easy to do? Did it just come natural, or did it really take a lot of intentionality on you two to build off of the last book in making the next?
Well, I think the intentionality is always important, regardless. As far as how difficult it was to go to that next step, probably not as difficult as it might seem, only because we were taking different elements of the Go Giver. So, for example, the first one was really the original one. The Go Giver was really for entrepreneurs and salespeople, though a lot of leaders also adopted that, I guess adopted would be the right word. and utilize those principles for leadership. But we started being asked a lot, well, how would actual leaders tap into the 5 laws? So it was pretty easy to now, and John can create a story around anything. So pretty easy for him to continue the story in our fictional town using a couple of the characters. In every story, we bring a couple of characters back. Some make
Yeah.
cameo appearances, and other, and but then just instead of the even the 5 laws in the Go-Giver Leader, and then the 5 laws in the Go-Giver Influencer, which is about people skills. The laws, if you look at them, they're still the same basic principles as in the original book. So not really difficult in that sense.
So would you mind? I feel like this is a perfect opportunity to kind of outlay the premise of the book and then break down the 5 laws for the audience.
Sure. Yeah. So the basic premise is that shifting your focus, and this is really where it all begins, shifting your focus from getting to giving. Now, when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others. And it's understanding, Matthew, that doing so is not only a more fulfilling way of conducting business and living life. It's actually the most financially profitable way as well,
Mm.
but not for any kind of way out there, woo woo or magical, mystical type of reasons. Oh, just give and do good deeds and you'll be success. No, not that's magical thinking. No, that's not it at all. It's actually a lot more um, realistic than that. It's realizing that when you're that person who can take your focus off of yourself and place it on serving others, discovering what their needs, what their wants, what their desires are. When you can take your focus off of yourself and instead place it on helping other people solve or overcome their challenges, their problems, when you can make it not about you, but about moving other people closer to happiness, people
Mm.
feel good about you. They feel great about you. They want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be in a relationship with you. They want to do business with you if that's appropriate. But they definitely want to tell the world about you. They want to be what we call your personal walking ambassador. And that's really the premise. And this works whether we're talking about business, whether we're talking about just life in general, whether we're talking about friendships, whether we're talking about relationships, whether we're talking about, someone who is just kind of starting out in life and they're younger and they want to just know how to be successful. Find a way to be of value to others. Now, understand, you already have great value just by being a person, just by being there. You have immense intrinsic value. But we also have to develop our what I call market value.
Mm.
And that is the value we bring to the marketplace. When I say marketplace, again, it's not just business, it's everything that causes people to want to, again, engage with us. And so when you can find ways to be of value, in other words, making it about them, you really create what John and I call the benevolent context for your success.
Oh,
Yeah. And
break that
so,
down for me. Yeah, break that
yeah.
down. I like that.
And so, so we do this through, 5 laws that we share in the original story. And those laws are the laws of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity. And the first one is really all about the experience you provide another person. Okay. So that experience being, in the story, we talk about Ernesto's Italian Cafe, which is an upscale restaurant in a swanky part of town, and if you eat there, you're probably going to pay some good money to do so. But not only the food, and as Ernesto said, yeah, the food's great, but a lot of restaurants have great food. It's not just the food; it's the way you're made to feel.
Mm.
just by being there. It's the way you're greeted. It's the way you're seated. It's the attention the wait staff pays to you, while also knowing when to kind of leave you alone to enjoy the dinner. It's the ambiance that's created through the culture of the restaurant, through the leadership itself. It's it's that when you receive that bill and you pay that bill, yeah, it cost you some money, but you come away feeling like $1 million. Okay. You receive much more in value. We say it's giving more in value than you receive in payment, but that doesn't mean you don't make a profit. No. A go-giver makes a wonderful profit. Why? Because we're not selling on low price, we're selling on high value. So the experience that the patron receives is much more than what they paid for. But remember, Ernesto, the restaurant owner, the what he charges is a lot more than what his costs are. Right.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
he's making a healthy bread. In fact, in any free market based transaction, if you want to call it, in any free market based exchange, and when I say free market, I simply mean no one's forced to do business with anyone else. In any free market based exchange, there should always be two profits: the buyer profits and the seller profits, because each of them come away better off afterwards than they were beforehand. Okay. And really, that's what it's all about. And, as a franchisee, and I know you work with a lot of franchisees, it's not just, and I was in a franchise restaurant this morning, and, you know, they made me feel great about just being there. They were friendly, they were helpful, it was clean, it was, the atmosphere was good. That's a great experience. Okay. Happy to pay to be there. Um, but if it's not, well, that says something different, right? If they're rude, if they're just not friendly, if the place isn't very clean, if the processes aren't, as they should be, well, now it's a whole different experience. So law number one, the law of value, is all about the experience itself being so exceptional that the price is a non-issue.
Mm.
So now, and of course, one of the great things about a franchise is with the systemization. And I personally define a system as the process of predictably achieving a goal based on a
Okay.
logical and specific set of how-to principles. If the franchisee follows the system that's been a proven system, right? The key is predictability. If it's been proven that by doing A, you'll get the desired result of B, then you know that all you need to do is A and continue to do A, and you'll get the desired result of B. So following the system that the franchisor has set up, assuming it's a good system, which it probably is, they have a great chance of being able to provide that exceptional value.
Yo, thanks for listening this far. It's at this point in the episode that I want to talk about Streetwise franchising, teaching, training, building. Streetwise franchising. As a franchise consultant, it's my job, it's my absolute pleasure, and it's my mission to help aspiring entrepreneurs find, launch, and build their ideal business. I've been a franchise owner for almost a decade. I know what it means to struggle. I know what it means to build a team. If you're ready to get off of zero, if you're ready to build something for yourself, visit streetwisefranchising.com. Let's get the conversation started. Don't wait until tomorrow to build your future. It starts today. Streetwise Franchising. Stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Let's get back to the episode. Oh, I love that. I love that. Something that you spoke on, and it's wrapped into that value. And so, just for context, I do a lot of networking, and I'm out in the community all the time. And a lot of people, their mindset when they go out in those communities, it's twisted. They're not networking. They're trying to sell their service, and they're not really looking to add value. Some of the best groups that I've been in use the principle: you need to be somebody that people know, like, and trust.
Right.
And I've heard this for years. And then it was reading and going through your book where you actually use the phrase, and I'm sure of it, that the groups that I'm in have actually taken this concept from your books. Where did that come from for you
So
guys? Becoming somebody that people know, like, and trust.
yeah, so I first introduced that saying back in the early 90s, mid 90s, in my first book, which was called Endless Referrals: Network Your Everyday
Okay.
Contacts into Sales. And I'd been talking about that concept for years before the book came out. The actual saying is, all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust.
Love it.
And the key is when we say all things being equal, and even if things aren't always, if things are never totally equal, but they're close enough. Okay. So if it comes down to, the price is generally within the same, if it comes down to the services, the same, the quality of the product or service is basically the same. If most things are pretty much equal, then it's always going to go to the know, like, and trust. It's going to go to the relationship. Okay. And so that's why the all things being equal or close to equal part is so very important. And when that is the case, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I like to consider myself as somebody who's a serial mentee, somebody who's always learning, seeking mentorship across all levels of my life. And I see that in each pillar, I not one mentor is necessarily going to fall within each
That's
pillar.
a great point.
And I'm reading through the book, and Pindar, his character, he's physically present in The Go-Giver,
Uh-huh.
and his spirit is present throughout every other book in the series. I mean, he to me seems like the ultimate
Yeah.
mentor. Where
Hmm.
did that character come from? And was there a Pindar type figure in your life in any way as a mentor?
Yeah. So the character of Pindar is based loosely on a guy that John and I both knew, whose name was Bob Proctor. The world lost him a couple of years ago. And Bob was a guy who was just very kind, immensely knowledgeable, totally came from a place of abundance. He was always there to counsel people and give his time and energy and love, and just a fantastic, fantastic guy. And so when we wrote the Pindar character, we kind of saw him as speaking like Bob with that kind of gravelly voice, and tall and having the hair like he did, and the mannerisms. So we modeled Pindar off of Bob Proctor. In my life, I was like you. I'm a serial protege. I'm always wanting to learn from others. So I had different mentors from the time I started in business. What would happen if I was in a certain situation? I'd seek out someone who had the knowledge that I wanted to have, and I would ask that person for advice. But I always tried in every way I could to make it worthwhile for them. So I always, made sure to
Mm.
thank them profusely. I would, uh, listen to what they said. I'd report back to them. When I was in a position to, I would introduce them to people who could benefit them. But we can't always, as a protege, do that, because obviously we're seeking out someone who is more successful. But yeah, I agree with you. It doesn't have to be one person. It doesn't have to be Tuesdays with Maury. It can be, you can have different mentors in different areas of your life, and it doesn't always have to be the same one for years and years and years.
So I actually, it's super interesting. I'd love it if you went a little bit deeper into the mindset that somebody should have when they're seeking out a mentor, whether that's a spiritual mentor, somebody that's going to mentor them in their marriage, their business,
Hmm.
any of these categories. What mindset should I have as I seek out somebody to mentor me in that space?
Yeah, it's a great question, Matthew, because a lot of times people will approach someone with whom they have no relationship, and they will just say, "Hey, would you be my mentor?" Or, "I need a mentor. Can you mentor me?" Now, we have to understand first that a mentor protege relationship is just that. It's a relationship. It
Mm,
takes time to build. It's not as a, sometimes it can certainly happen, but typically, you're by just saying, "Will you mentor me?" to someone with whom there's no relationship, it's probably not going to happen. Why? Well, remember first, if you're asking that person to mentor you, many other people are asking them as well. and they just don't have the, literally the time to mentor everyone who would
Sure.
want, right?
Yeah.
They also probably don't have the desire to, or the bandwidth to, or the energy to, or whatever it is. So they have to choose. They have to be able to safeguard their time and be able to honor their time as well. Even though many successful people, they want to mentor others, and so. But when we say, will you be my mentor? It can kind of come across a little bit entitled. It's not really respecting that person's, time and what their situation is and so forth, and certainly doesn't distinguish you from the many other people who want their time. So I would approach, and by the way, you can approach someone you don't really know and so forth, but the way I would probably ask is along the lines of, I know you are very busy, and if this isn't something you have the time to do, or for any reason would rather not do it, I'll absolutely understand. I'm wondering if I might ask you one or two very specific questions. Now,
Mm.
what have you done when asking like this? First, you've respected the process and respected them. Rather than coming across as entitled, you've communicated that you realize this is a big ask and that they're very busy people. Okay. Two, you gave them an out or back door. You right away said, that emotional escape route, right? You said, I'll absolutely, if this is not something, I'll absolutely understand. In that case, the bigger the out or back door you give someone to take, the less they'll feel the need to take it, because they understand right up front that you respect their time and that you respect the situation. So they're much more likely to be open to giving you some time. Third, what you did is, rather than just ask, say, that I want to pick your brain, which is so general and so forth, you've said, can I ask you, may I ask you one or two very specific questions? This says to that person, okay, this person knows what they want. They have an agenda, and in this case, agenda in a positive way, a good way. Not, well, they have an agenda, but they have an agenda. They know what they want at. They're not going to
Yeah.
waste my time. They know they have a couple of questions they want. Sure, I can take that kind of time. So they'll probably say, sure, what can I do for you, or how can I help? So what you want to do, and this assumes, of course, that you've really researched this information, so you don't ask them a question that you could have already discovered the answer to online, um, but you make sure to ask those couple of good, intelligent questions. Be very respectful in listening. Don't take up too much of their time, especially on this first call. Make sure you and let them know, I so appreciate this. I look forward to using this, utilizing your wisdom. May I check in from time to time and just let you know how, keep you up to date? And they're going to say, sure, of course, please do. Right. So when you get off the phone or in person or Zoom, wherever the conversation's taking place, it doesn't matter. You want to write a handwritten, personalized note of thanks. This is very important. Now, I have my own kind of, note card that I use, but you can
Nice.
have anything that you want, but I'd make it a handwritten note, brief handwritten note. Dear Mr. or Ms. or however first name, however it's been established, thank you so much for your time. Your wisdom is so invaluable. I look forward to applying it right away. We'll we'll keep in touch and update you as to my progress. Thank you again. Best regards. Sign your name. Put it in an envelope. Hand stamp it with a regular stamp, not a meter stamp, a regular stamp or a large commemorative stamp. Okay, and then send it that day. By the way, if someone wants to look at my note card so that they can use it just as a template, they can go to burg.com/note card, and they can take a look at that and then just take that to their printer or however they want to do it. I think there's online services now you
Yeah.
can use to do those things. And so now what I would also do is find out this person's favorite charitable cause, which again you can probably search that online and find out, or you can always call their administrative assistant and find out. Don't let them know, don't ask them. And I would make a small, doesn't have to be anything big, but I'd make a small donation to their favorite charitable cause in their name. And what will happen is this will get back to them that you did that. They'll be notified. Now, you're not doing it to kiss up or anything. You're doing it just so, again, they understand that this is not a one-way, you're a taker type of thing, that you're looking however you can to be respectful and to honor them as best you can. Now, a few weeks later, you might follow up with an email or a phone call or however, however it's been established, and you may have another question. And you may be in another conversation, and you may slowly develop that mentor protege relationship. Or it might be that's the only time you ever speak with them. But you might meet you meet someone else and do the same thing. And that person might be that mentor or not, or someone else. Or it could be for, a few different meetings, and then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Don't be attached to the results. Just utilize the process. Okay. And you'll find yourself able to meet and develop a network of great mentors and guides to help you in your career.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I've always, in my mind, tried to seek mentors from the kind of the apprentice mindset. And if I think of like a blacksmith in the old days, the apprentice, I mean, he was doing a lot of the grind work for
Right.
the master
Right.
blacksmith, and thinking about it in that way of how do I, as the mentee, provide as much value as possible to the mentor, because that is so needed in the relationship. And I
Exactly.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. Well, I want to respect your time, and so as we kind of round out to the final bit of the interview here, I want to talk about failure. In one of the books, the furniture store, and where the whole warehouse lit up and went on fire, and it was either
Right.
influencer or leader, and I'm
Leader.
drawing a
Yeah.
blank now that I'm talking to you.
That's okay. The
But
go-giver leader. Yeah.
there it is. Yes, yes, sir. So the fire in the warehouse, and it was such a terrible thing that happened,
Mm,
but through it, there was a beautiful outcome. And I
yeah.
like to coach people up on our failure actually leads us to our purpose, and our pain actually helps us to understand and relate to one another. So if you could you share maybe an example of how pain or failure in your life has helped you grow and connect with other people?
Well, I mean, I don't think there's one example. I think there's lots of examples.
Mm.
It's just a matter of being open to, to growing and learning from your mistakes and from failures. And we've all had plenty of them. I mean, on the way to success, I mean, it's just the street of the road to success is littered with failures. That's just part of it. And I know that sounds like a platitude, and it kind of is, but that is life, right? I mean, you just got to know when you start out that on your way to accomplishing your whether it's the goal or a series of goals or that dream or whatever it is, that you're going to meet so much resistance from others. You're going to make mistakes yourself. You're going to get told no hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. None of this is to say you need to like it. There's nothing about it that you're going to like that part. Okay. But you can accept that it's a fact.
Mm.
Successful people live in truths. Okay, they don't try to. They understand the world as it is, not how they wish it was. Now that doesn't mean that they let the truths defeat them. No, they work within those truths in order to successfully advance themselves and advance others. So if you know that hearing no is part of, if you know that it takes a 5-gallon barrel of no's to get a quart of yeses, but that quart of yeses is all you need to be hugely successful. Well, now you can kind of reframe those no's. And you can say, okay, I don't like it, but I know it's part of on the way to that quart of yeses that's going to, have me hugely successful. There's a great book by my friends Andrea Waltz and Richard Fenton, a husband and wife team, called Go for No. And they
Mm.
talk about how to reframe no into something that works for you. Now, the title is Go for No. The subtitle is Yes is the destination. No is how you get there. Okay. Yeah,
Wow.
their website is goforno, GOFORNO.com. Fantastic, fantastic people, wonderful business people. And And so, as long as we know that, and so then we also know we're going to make mistakes, and we know we're going to do things that are not the smartest thing we could have done. But do we learn from those mistakes? Do we ask ourselves the question constantly, what can I learn from this? And by the way, we don't always come up with the answer right away. Sometimes we never come up with the answer, but it's asking the question that keeps us focused on where we want to be and where we need to be. So, yeah, I mean, the mistakes, sure.
Love that. I love that. And I love the plug for Go for No, because I haven't heard that book before. When you said it initially, I immediately thought of, and I know you're gonna like this, but Og Mandino's Greatest Salesman in the World.
Um,
The third scroll is persist until I
yeah,
succeed, and every no gets me closer to that next yes.
yeah,
And
that was the first book I read when I got in sales 40 years ago.
man, and listening to you guys at the end of one of your books breaking down, again, I think it was Leader, Go Giver Leader, breaking down the influence that Og Mandino had on you and kind of telling his story, man, just hit my heart in a very special place. And so
Oh,
again,
thank
you
you.
guys have helped me out
I
immensely,
appreciate that. Thank you.
immensely. My last question for you, because just for context here, I could talk to you all day because
Oh,
this is
well, thank
amazing.
you.
But
That's
I definitely want to respect your time and get you out of here with the allotted slot that you gave me. The last question I ask every single guest is, how do you help somebody who's struggling to take that first step? They know that they need to make a change in their life, but they're afraid.
Mhm.
How do you coach them up to take that first step and get off of zero?
Well, first, this is where the relationship comes into play,
Mm,
because they're going to be much more accepting of your advice and your suggestions if they know you, they like you, and they trust you.
there it
And
is.
here, trust is so very key. Trust is that really it comes down to, and I think Simon Sinek talked about this in his book, Leaders Eat Last, where,
Yeah.
success, trust is the belief that another person has your well-being at heart. So, as long as they know that, they're more now. But we've also got to be careful about something. We can't want something for someone more than they want it for themselves.
Whew.
Okay. And if we're emotionally attached to their taking our advice, we're creating misery for ourselves and probably for them, and
Wow.
probably keeping them from. On the other hand, you can be with them, you can get with them, you can do what you can to let them know emotionally you're on their side, that you're there to support them emotionally. If you can help them in any way, then you'll do that as well, whatever. You just gotta stop short of wanting it for them more than they want it for themselves. When they're ready, if the time comes, they'll be ready. But they're gonna
Man,
do it for their reasons, not yours.
I love that. I love that. Well, Mr. Bob Burg, this has been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much. What's the best way for people to reach out, get in contact, be influenced by your work at this stage? I know you have the podcast, which I listen to, and I think it's awesome. Maybe help people find your work at this point.
Yeah, the best thing to do is just to go to Burg, BURG.com. And, everything's there, including the books, but there'll be a little pop-up that says that they can subscribe to my daily impact email, which I have. This is something I write up and send out early in the morning, 5 days a week, which is that little bit of inspiration and how to, and talks about, sometimes it's about people skills, sometimes it's leadership, sometimes it's sales, sometimes it's this, sometimes it's that. But I would start with that. It's free, and it's consistent.
Love it. Love it. Consistency is key. Well, to the listener, listen to this episode twice. This was amazing. And I thank you so much again for coming
My
on.
pleasure.
As always, stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Peace. All right, everybody. That's a wrap. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Hey, if this episode added any value to your life at all, please like it, share it, give me a 5-star review. It's the only way that this show is going to gain traction and help more people achieve their dreams. If you're ready to start your franchise journey, visit streetwisefranchising.com. Let's set up a time to talk. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Until next time, stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Peace.